The box score says this was a 14-point win for the Celtics, but this was one of the worst performances I've seen from the Celtics this season. But that being said, you're playing the Brooklyn Nets, so a win is a win. And without further ado, let's hit the intro. What's up, everyone, and welcome into your Celtics source on this Tuesday night after the Celtics take down the Brooklyn Nets 113-99. They improved to 8-7 on the season. First time they're above 500. They're riding a 3-game winning streak, longest of the season. But all that being said, this game was just miserable to watch. The Celtics had, if I'm getting this correct here, the Celtics had 19 turnovers, the most in any game this season for them. The offense, just looked abysmal in this game. Throwing the ball away, just poor decisions, getting pickpocketed. Anthony Simons, Payton Pritchard, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, all dribbling and just get it pickpocketed, not even from behind, just from the guy guarding them. Like, just simple defense was just flustering the Celtics all night. There's a couple guys that it was nice to see get going. Sam Hauser, right, hitting 2 of 5 from 3. Right, he's been in a miserable slump ever since that first half of that Magic game where he went off. And so it's nice to see him knock down a couple shots. Anthony Simons coming off the bench, 11 points, 3 of 4 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3. So great efficiency from him. He plays 26 minutes. It was nice to see, him get his numbers up a little bit, right? There's been I don't know if it's controversy, but I've had mixed feelings on, whether Anthony Simons should be playing or not, right? We see, his flaws, especially on that defensive end. But we also just see the fact that he is a walking bucket. And sometimes, in the playoffs, it won't work. But we're not in the playoffs right now. And so sometimes you just need a couple buckets, to come in. It doesn't have...
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. But, it doesn't have to be, for long stretches. He just needs to come in and change the momentum of a game, which, I thought he was able to do so tonight. Who else had a good game? Payton Pritchard had a nice game. Not great shooting, but he did go 5 of 12 from 3. 22 points. Played 35 minutes. It's nice to see that Payton Pritchard has the ball in his hands, right? I think that's the big difference in why Payton Pritchard is, excelling right now. He's playing so much better because he has the ball in his hands. It's taken out of Derek White. And Derek White can be a great, off-ball player as well, whereas Payton Pritchard's, still has to work on his off-ball skills. And in, the first couple of games, he was struggling to get good shots and just score and be impactful when he wasn't on the ball. But now that he's on the ball, he's making plays for others. It's nice to see. All right, but, I want to keep this short because, we're playing the Nets again. It is the Nets. And quite frankly, I don't know what else there is to say about this. Other than the fact that you play terribly, you have 19 turnovers, and you're playing the Nets, so you win the game. Right, but let's talk about, some of the key issues in this game. I think you start with, just the center rotation in this game. right? Luka Garza was pretty awful in this game throughout the entire game. In terms of his offensive production, 5 points, makes the one shot that he takes. But that defense from him in this game was just terrible. He was fouling guys left and right. He was out of position. And he had to play big minutes because Keita actually got into early foul trouble, right? Keita was, pretty, I don't know, he had really the same stat line. Now, Keita did have 3 blocks and 7 rebounds compared to the, what did Garza have? The 4 rebounds from Garza. But, Luka Garza plays, 20 minutes. Keita plays 23 minutes. So pretty similar in terms of minutes. But Keita got into foul trouble. Now, Keita looked a little bit better defensively. He just picked up some unfortunate fouls on Michael Porter Jr. and other guys going to the rim. I don't remember the exact players. But that forced Garza to come in. And the minutes with Garza on the court were pretty awful. Now, yes, they had a plus 14. He was a plus 14 in the game. But you can't look at that because I just thought that Garza, he just looked, just the eye test said he looked out of position, making costly fouls, missing, I guess, he didn't miss any shots, but there were some bad turnovers from him. In the game, there were also some, some plays that maybe didn't go down as a turnover, but just some lack of energy, lack of hustle to get a rebound or something like that. And so, Keita and Garza pretty much, split this game in half and do not give you much production at all, right? That center position, actually, Xavier Tillman ended up going in and playing, how many minutes did he play? Just 5 minutes. Didn't even pick up a single stat. But, as I was saying, right, Tillman and Garza split the time and give you a total of 11 points, which just doesn't work for your center position, right? That's one of the reasons why they were, the Nets were in this game until Brown was able to close it out. Now, Brown, we'll get to him in 1 second. Brown, I thought, had a, pretty productive game. The shooting, especially that mid-range shot right now, I think Jaylen Brown is taking some shots that are just too tough, and he's missing more than he needs to. Now, he's great at the mid-range shot. That is his shot. But right now, when the offense is so hard to come by, it would be nice to see, him try and get better shots. But, it might not be possible with, the state of this team right now. But as for, Keita and Garza, you got to give more than 11 points, right? You're just letting the offense down so much because you're playing the full game, right? The Celtics are never going to play without a center for the most part. There are a couple, I guess, games where they might go small. But it seems like Joe Mazzulla, doesn't trust those small ball lineups. He has to play with the center. And so when you're that big of an offensive liability, you're just shutting down an entire, offensive possession because teams can just leave you alone, leave you alone and, double and do different things to get you out of position and make you uncomfortable, even if it's in the paint, right? If Keita has his back turned to the basket and he has to turn and make a shot, that's much harder than, him being, in a great position to just, dunk or get a layup or rebound, all that stuff. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here because, as I said, we play the Nets again on Friday. I have decided we are going to go live for the entire game and stream that game on YouTube here, play-by-play commentary and, watch party. So make sure to tune into that. Then we'll have our post-game show. But, yeah, until next time, go Celtics.